tick. I missed you guys.
I know you did.
Yep. We'll start out with that with an opening statement. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Coming to a close of a trying year, but there's always some silver linings. The number one silver lining for me is having an opportunity to coach these seniors. The guys have been really resilient, while the record on the field does not indicate what we just say would be, or on the scoreboard, progress, but these seniors have done a great job of laying the foundation and modeling strong character and resolve. And so appreciated these seniors, and it'll be heartwarming for me as a head football coach to send them out as they run on the War Memorial Stadium field the last time. And as coaches, we're doing everything we can in our power to put them in position to come up with a victory. So from that standpoint, an exciting ball game. I know it's at the tail end of the year. A lot of teams are beat up. We had an unusual schedule bye this year, and we've taken advantage of that bye to get healed up and work on some fundamentals, and then spent some extra time working on the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. We're excited about playing the ball game. I've got a great deal of respect for UNLV. Coach Sanchez has a tremendous record as a head coach. And Barney Cotton is a teammate of mine that I played football with in Nebraska. So some other storylines along the way. But this is about the players, and we're looking forward to the ball game. So at this time, questions that are out there. Okay, I see we have somebody that's online. Mark, I believe you're online. So if you have a question, I'd be more than happy to take it right now. So fire away.
Yeah, both teams are kind of in, thanks coach for the time, both teams are kind of in the same spot, I guess looking for motivation for the players to end the season on a high note. Is that what you tell your players, that this is a way to sort of go into the offseason with some momentum?
That's a great question, Mark. Most coaches, and I'm sure Coach Sanchez would be very similar to myself, you take one game at a time. The next game is the most important game. This is the next game, and so that in itself makes it a special occasion because you're only guaranteed so many games. But there is no doubt you want to go into the offseason on a high note, and I think particularly you want to send your seniors off on a high note and come into the locker room with a victory. And so both teams are going to scrap, and it'll be a very competitive game. As far as motivation, I can tell you we don't need any extra motivation. I doubt that the UNLV does, so we're throwing the records out. It's about what goes on the gridiron on Saturday.
And you mentioned the bye week and how your team got beat up. Do you feel that the team is much better off having that bye week from a physical standpoint?
Well, it depends on how you use that as a coach, and also depends on when that bye week occurs during the course of the season. It's been my experience, if there's a bye week earlier in the year, you handle it, quite frankly, a little bit different. Your practices are more physical because as the year goes along, there's so many accumulations of big hits that you incur. This time of year was a special type of bye week. We didn't practice as much as far as in full pads, simply because a lot of guys had been making a week to week. However, I can tell you we had some physical practices during the course of this week, and we utilize those to get ourselves schooled up. Many times you start to drop off on fundamentals, and you begin to sway away from things that are really important, and you get into more schematic things. And so we were able to return back to brushing off some of our things as far as blocking and tackling. But there's no doubt we utilized some extra time also on getting ready for the schemes that UNLV poses.
And I was reading about how the physical the San Diego State game was, and Tony Sanchez just made a similar comment Saturday night about facing San Diego State. Mm-hmm. Is that an advantage? And on your end, you think that they're coming right off that game with San Diego State and having to play right away, where you didn't have to play right away?
Well, it's hard to say, where the two teams are at, because sometimes bye weeks can work at a disadvantage because you lose your timing. I do believe San Diego State's got an excellent football team. They played well against us. We poured through the tape against San Diego State, against UNLV, watched the game on TV. They're a very good football team, and I think their record shows it. So as far as advantages and disadvantages, I'm really not in a position to comment on that.
Okay. And also, what's it about UNLV that sticks out to you?
Well, I think they're a football team that presents a great deal of challenges. They play with a great deal of energy. It's obvious that Coach Sanchez has done a good job, instilling a competitive edge. I do know what else stands out. I think we're going to introduce maybe 5 seniors, and I know that they had 20 seniors. And so I think you're dealing with the composition of 2 different type of football teams. They're a senior-laden football team, and we're a very young football team. However, we're at the end of a year, and so that experience is going to help.
Okay. Is there, I don't have anything else if there's someone else there who needs to ask anything.
No, I think we're in great shape. Thanks, Mark. Okay,
All right, thank you so much for your time.
You bet. I'll open it up to questions from our media gallery.
Craig, were you happy with the work you did get in, whether it was less physical or going on the fundamentals or getting ready for UNLV? Did you like the work you did?
Yeah, we did, Robert. I think we hit a balance. Certain guys like Cam, we backed off. Other guys, Eddie Yarborough, we backed off on some of the repetition. Other guys, we worked a little bit more. It wasn't an extremely heavy workload, but we practiced on Saturday afternoon. We took advantage of a full week. And, we've got a responsibility as coaches to put this football team in the best position to finish the year out on a high note. So from that standpoint, we're happy. I think we got some guys back that are healthy. Tanner Gentry will not play, though. We'll make sure that that's noted. But we were able to secure some other guys and get those back. So I was excited about that. We were excited about that.
How many guys do you say you plan to have on for seniors on Saturday?
Well, I think we have 5 guys that are dressing and then some other guys that are injured, either 5 or 9, maybe it's 8, something like that. It's the smallest number I've been around, I can tell you that. But, kudos to those guys. They've been really good guys, and they've embraced this year, and they haven't gone out on the practice field and complained, and, we've had good spirited practices.
Craig, is one of those seniors going to be Sean, or is it still the same thing with him, or where do you kind of sit there?
Well, Sean right now is not in position to play, so he's got to. First thing we've got to do is make sure that he's healthy, and when that comes about, then I think he'll be making a decision. Whether he wants to continue football or not. It's, from what I understand, his number of quarters that he played would qualify for a medical hardship year, but I think that the number one concern is his well-being, and it's been a long recovery from that concussion, and sometimes symptoms linger longer than others, and that's been the case with him. So he won't be playing this Saturday.
Is that a situation where if he ever does get past, just the more concussions you have, I know he's had several this year, the more likely you're having in the future. Is that a concern that maybe you don't want to have someone continue with your program if you're going to put them at risk?
Well, the very first thing is those are issues that I know our doctors and the medical staff will sit down with Sean and lay it all out there for him. And Sean's going to make the best decision in his best interest. And, as a coaching staff, we'll have open ears and hear what he has to say. Certainly different guys heal from concussions at different timelines. And so I guess we'll play the hand that's dealt with us when we get the information. But right now, he's not been cleared.
So you have Rafe at starting center behind Charlie. Is Charlie ready to go, or will you play them both, or is Rafe the guy?
Rafe will start.
Okay.
Rafe will start, and Charlie will play center. Rafe's played well, and he's one of those seniors I talked about. He and Troy.
Speaking of the seniors, especially the guys who've been around through the coaching change and several switches between offense and defense, you touched on it a little bit earlier, but can you just speak to the character that they have to stay motivated through all of those things?
Well, it was interesting. I met with the captains earlier this morning, and we have 2 fifth-year seniors on this squad, 2, Eddie and Rafe. And so we talked about their time here at the University of Wyoming. Both of those guys have loved their time, but I think it says a lot about their character, and it also gives you an idea of how challenging sometimes when you have 2 fifth-year guys. I think those are the only 2 guys that experienced a bowl game. And so they've done a good job instilling attitude and confidence.
What do you see from UNLV, Craig? I mean, I know they've had some quarterback issues with injuries. They got a heck of a receiver in the Boyd guy, but what kind of sticks out both offensively and defensively that
Well, they've played a couple different quarterbacks, Paladek and Decker, and both of them bring different skill sets to the table, as any quarterback's going to. You're right, receiving core is dangerous, and that does not mean that they're going to launch the ball 60 times a game. At least I don't think Barney will do that. The running game is solid, and so those things pose a problem for you. Whenever you have a big-time receiver, that stretches the defense. You can stretch the field vertically. Then you look at allocating how many guys you're going to play in the box to stop the run. The running game is such that the quarterback run is there, and anytime you have a quarterback run game, that challenges you defensively. And from the tailback position, they've been productive at times. So I think they've been offensively, a team that's got some weapons, and they've scored points. Defensively, they operate out of a 4-down front, and they're big, strong up front. And so we're going to have a challenge moving those guys to get some running lanes for Brian.
Obviously you mentioned the few number of seniors you have, so you have 20-plus guys who have started at some point this year that will return next year.
Mm-hmm.
Huge number. How important is that momentum going into the offseason going to be for them if you can get some this week?
Well, this week, and I'm cutting you off here, but this week's really about this team right now. In the back of my mind, certainly you look to the future, but it's about getting this team ready to go and do everything we can to win right now. Certainly we've gone through some inexperienced growing pains. You have a guy out there that is supposed to lever something or do some fundamental things that experience is going to be a great teacher. We'll deal with where we're at in the future with these other guys. And I can tell you this, as a head football coach, I'm going to really enjoy watching these seniors. As the last time they embraced us as coaches, they embraced me as a head football coach, so it's going to be about this year's team.
Is there any hypothetical situation where you'd ever consider the rushing record with Brian, where if it's at the end of the game that you try to get him an extra carry for that, or is that something that you don't even care about at all?
I don't know. We don't care about that, and I think Brian would echo the same thing. And what he's done this year has been spectacular, and he's had some good offensive line blocking. He's done a lot of it on his own, but there won't be a time for me or Coach Vegan in our head that we're saying, hey, let's get a couple more Brian carries. It's about this year's football team.